Welcome to Straight Talk with your host, Patti Foster.
When the unexpected happens, lives are changed in an instant. What do? Who do you talk to? How do you react? My guest today, I believe, will not only inspire us with their courage, but they'll also cause us to rethink how we make choices in life. Straight Talk with Patti warmly welcomes the Zapolskyy family.
We're glad to be here. My name is Leonid Zapolskyy, and this is my precious family. This is my wife Olga, and my kids Zahar, Solomon, and Anya.
On this program, we'll address some raw, tough topics, and many people listening will certainly be inspired to be given hope to take that next step in that next moment. We'll be talking about hope after tragedy, how to live after the unexpected happens, life lessons learned through adversity. Please, let's start off our time together by telling our audience about your family before the crash of 2015 so that our audience can get to know you better in these moments that we have together.
We were a Ukrainian family of 6. It was mom and dad and 4 kids. When the oldest one was not with us, he was in the US as a student. We struggled from many issues, many challenges what was presented at that time in Ukraine because of the civil war started, Russian invasion, school, businesses, economical situation was not good. A lot of interesting things, and it was usual things. And everything what we did was just like our job to solve the problem and move forward, to solve the next problem and move forward again. At the time we tried to reach something, and we wish the best for our kids, and it was maybe the most important decision to send our son to the US as an international student to pursue the high school education. At that time it was nice private Christian school in Texas, and we thought that it's the best what we can only imagine for our son and for the rest of our kids.
Originally, we are from Ukraine and moved to the United States in 2015. We married in a very young age and just celebrated 22 years of our marriage last month. We believe that our biggest legacy is our 4 adored children. We have always spent a lot of time together, played outside in all different kind of sports, cooked, read, laughed, and prayed together. We have always been one union, never apart. Our dream has been to give them the life brighter than what we have had. Like so many others, we never thought that tragedy would stalk our happy family. At this point in our lives, we both truly believe that we were the happiest and were awaiting with great excitement on what God has prepared for us.
So from the moment of learning your family and the audience getting to know your family and where you're from and home and how many children, take us to the moment in Texas at the private Christian school you talked about, and describe for us the traffic crash of March 2015 that changed your lives.
As I can remember, the beginning of March of 2015. My family was in Poland. They lived in Warsaw. I moved them there. I still had business in Ukraine, and I moved between Ukrainian city Lviv, Warsaw, Poland, and Germany, looking for investments, working with my customers from my business. And at that time, when my wife made a phone call and reached me, I was nearly 100 miles away from Warsaw, on my way from Germany to home, temporary home in Warsaw. That night I decided to spend a couple hours after a long drive sleeping right in the car, and my wife woke me up by her phone call. And he told me what had happened with our son Pasha in the US, so far from us. It's maybe like 5,000 miles from us. And before, even during that night, I had no special dream or dreams. I had nothing special feelings, nothing. And it was something like explosion, like earthquake, like big disaster. Something triggered in my mind, but my mind was against that information, and it was hard to believe or receive that news that something has happened with my son, with our son, with the brother of my kids. And I start to drive to reach my family as fast as possible, and we start to discuss the plan how to leave Poland, how to get visas, and how to visit the US. Because at that time, only in my passport was US visa, but for my wife, for my kids, was nothing. And it was only one option: to visit the US embassy in Warsaw and start all this process. And it was like miracle. It was so fast, in very high pace, all that paperwork, all that requirements, visits, and in 2 days we got airplane tickets. We were at the airplane. It was almost like in the dream, when you're sleeping or you are like unconscious but you're doing something. We were shaken, and it was only like facts, but if we are talking about me, my feelings, I was calm inside. It was nothing, something like panic, or it was covered. It was peace inside. It was everything under, not mine, but it was like under the God's control. It's interesting how my friends reacted at that news, and only like 2 or 3 my closest friends offered the help, and one of them gave us necessary finances, and everything was covered. And it was like not my plan, it was God's plan to do all the things, and nobody's else plan. And we were in the US, in Texas, as I believe it was on Saturday, but all that process started from Thursday night, from Thursday to Friday.
I have a lifetime that when we woke up in the morning, our mom said that while we were sleeping, Pasha died, and we prayed, and our life was very hard.
When I'm thinking about that moment again, we have to cope with the news about this crash, because we were so far and it was only information, and I felt very unable, like bounded with all this distance, everything. when I was driving the car next 2 hours after getting that news from my wife, I was thinking, I was looking for special sign. I was thinking about details when that happened, but I was not accusing somebody, or I was not angry. I tried to find something in my heart, in signs, in words, something from the God, because I know that God can talk to us by signs, by words, by situations. But at that time it was regular road, it was blue sky, it was probably about 35 Fahrenheit outside, it was rented car what I was driving, nothing special, and it was only peace and silence and hope that I can change something. I can overcome that things. Yeah, and after that, it was. I can say that it was easy because somebody took care about me. Because I know right now it was God who took care about everything. Everything was covered from that moment till the visit of the US, returning till today, till now. Everything is covered. Everything under the protection, under the care, everything so good. And I can tell that we are so blessed. Maybe one lesson, I think main lesson from this situation, it was that it's not under my control, and me, my kids, my family, my wife, everything under God's control, and He knows terms, He knows everything about everybody, and it's in His will to do what He wants to do.
March 4th, 2015, 26 years old drunk driver with family history of destructive behavior ruthlessly crashed into the car where was our oldest son Pasha, just 2 months before graduation. In the result of collision, 2 people was killed. I got a call early in the morning that my son was killed. It was hard to believe because Pasha called me just 14 hours before. His face gleamed with happiness, and despite him being 17 years old, he still carried an open and candid smile of a child. I have never experienced everything so devastating in my life. I didn't need to know the details. The only desire I had in this world was to be with my child, to see him, hug him, take away his pain, and never again let him go. I wanted to spring into action, run, save, bring him back, but I was powerless. We were 6,000 miles apart.
How about, can you tell me one of the funniest memories you have of Pasha?
When he rode me on his shoulders and played with me and shared with me toys, and I had really fun with him.
That he cared about me when I was a baby, and he cooked for me and played with me.
For me, when we played soccer all day and had a lot of fun together.
So when you and Pasha would play, would you beat him or he would you, or how would that work?
We were pretty even, and well, he would be better than me, and then he would coach me some skills and teach me some, and we would practice together all the time.
What was Pasha like as a coach?
Very good. He would always help me and always tell me what to do.
Thank you. How do you make the choice to cope and to handle the new life since everything has changed? Because life is full of choices. How do you choose to make that choice to continue the new life?
I have strong belief that my son as a Christian, as a believer with his God, with my God, and he is in good hands. And if I am, as a Christian, believe in heaven, it's very natural to suppose, to understand, to believe that my son there and I will be there with him. Everybody will be with him, only we need a little bit of time. And at certain time we will be there. It's hard to understand that he is not here, not presented here, not smiling here, not doing something. It's not possible to spend the time, but it's like being in the situation when your son, the very special ambassador, and he is on this very special mission, and he's somewhere on his duty, and it's his work, it's his life, it's his very high-ranked position, and he was awarded with these things, and in one day we will be there. It's hard to tell that it's a new life, it's the same life, but sometimes it's hard. When my grandma told me that it will be like the same hand, but if you have the lack of one finger, it's still the same hand, but you still don't have one finger. It's a little bit different. Life is different. Everything what you're doing is different, and we can feel this difference every day. Maybe we accommodate, but we believe that our belief much stronger than short temporary discomfort without Pasha. And we know that our Creator, our God, can take care about us and can do the best, and He can provide. He can create the best compensation plan. He can bless us. He is able to do everything, and certainly His name will be glorified through this situation, and we can see these consequences, good consequences of something like tragedy from the one side, but from the other side it's His glory.
What I realized during these years, that becoming a Christian doesn't mean all your problems go away. It just means that you have a Savior to walk with you. Several years later, I made a decision to start to enjoy my life again. It still is an everyday work, but with God, all things are possible. I'm making choices to live in this moment every day. I have come to see a greater purpose behind our grief, as I have ministered to others.
You've both touched on some of the life lessons or the change of life after. Are there more life lessons that you've gained or are gaining through this adversity that you would like to pass along to the listeners?
I can remind the scripture that God lets your will be, not mine, and my understanding that if the God gave me the life, He can take it, and if He gave the life to my kids, to Pasha, He can take it, and it's not my will, it's not my decision, and it's very straightforward ruling of our Lord, and He has the biggest, the greatest wisdom, and He knows better what to do. It's unusual to be in the situation when not somebody older than you passed away, but somebody younger. But from the other side, it's not my decision, and I strongly believe that God can deal with any situation, and He knows what it's the best, and it knows that we can carry it, and we need that, and He knows, and I know that we can cope with any difficulties because our God with us. It's very personal. Sometimes it's very hard, but I understand also that my child, it's not only my child, it's my child and it's God's child as I am. And he knows better what to do, and I trust him.
What I have learned in these last several years is that we cannot predict what will happen in our future. But it is our responsibility as Christians to stand on firm foundation. We need to know who we are and who we belong to. God is greater than circumstances that stand in our way. We have to make a choice not to let what has happened to us define us, but allow to Him to use those events to refine us. We are able to know Him deeper and be known by Him profoundly only a moment of tragedy, suffering, and grief. The deep hurt inside us makes for deeper intimacy.
So through this journey, if someone would like to get in contact with you, what are the best ways for them to go about this?
Please send us letters on the email address olzapolskyy@gmail.com. It's our family email, and we will be glad to respond to your requests, answer your questions, encourage you, and I hope we will be helpful, and our advice will be helpful also.
As we wrap up our time together, let me pass the mic to each of you who would like to make any closing comments.
My friend, her cousin had died by almost like a car wreck, but two cars were standing together, front and back, and they bumped into each other, and he died. And I'd say that I just believe that he's by your side and he's alive with you, but you just can't see him, and that you will trust in God that he's with you.
I know that in the turning moment, at the very important moment of my life, they will try to discourage me, to resist, to deceive me, to do something very bad, because my success, it's not about him, it's about God. And I know that he wants to steal my joy, he's the liar, and he is that guy who is only taking something away. But I know my God who is giving me and take care about me every moment. I decided to rely on the God. Doesn't matter what signs will be, what circumstances will be, or what dreams will be, or what prophecies will be, or what opinions will be around me, but my God knows the best, and he will provide, and it's his will. I don't let to steal my best feelings, my joy, my love, because of something or circumstances. Sometimes it's hard to overcome, because the hardest test, it's test with time or by time. But we have good example of Jesus, and we have good examples of other real followers from the Bible, and I think that I am more careful reader of all that stories from the Bible to bring special lessons or special notices to follow with, or better reader to find the best answer for my situation. And what I know more, that God always will find proper people who will bring peace, who will bring something, who will add value to my life, to my kids' life, and he can provide, and I trust him.
I know that Pasha is right beside me, and I will never forget him, and he's very important to me.
I would say that you should don't take for granted all the moments that you will have or experience with your family.
I am able to see Pasha in all of my kids. And my advice is just try to make every moment in your life, enjoy it, and trust God.
Thanks for listening to Straight Talk with your host, Patti Foster. Patti is a motivational speaker, writer, musician, and has an amazing testimony of God's faithfulness. For more information, log on to www.pattifoster.com.